What does the Bible say about global warming, the Green New Deal? The Bible speaks about the cause of harsh environments. Did you know the Bible speaks about the global ice age past, the hoary frost? Job 38:29. Look it up. What is our real concern about global warming? We want a livable, comfortable planet for our children with enough resources. Global warming claims to cause an overheating of the planet, which would in turn cause extreme storms, extreme droughts, extreme floods, and extreme wildfires, causing famine and polluted water supply. The Bible tells us just how to have peace concerning some of these things, how some of these things happen, and how to avoid these things. Global warming or climate change, the change to climate change is interesting to me because there was an ice age scare back in 1970s. What do these scientists really understand? First off, when you add the word global or planet to be effective against these things, the nation must come together. That is a major argument. That is a major argument for one world order to save the planet. So you can kind of see where that might lead us. As Christians, or those who believe in the one true God, we want to be stewards, to take care of things, not to pollute our neighbors. The atheist or the agnostic man and false religions see this planet as this is it. We in turn get our peace and balanced thought from God's promise in Scripture. In 2 Peter 3:13, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Some pollution causes. The love of money, I'm sure, will get to some industrial owners who may hide bad pollutants or invent false pollutants to sell products. Remember the Mad Max Fury Road in the book of Eli, where the villain held back and claimed a shortage of water? What nations believe can cause. What a nation believes can cause. Think about the major ideology of some of these countries or people. What do they worship equals the environment they live in. Yes, sometime a total atheist culture will experience a few years of economic prosperity or otherwise. The U.S. is sort of the headquarters of Christianity around the world. Does this matter? Let's look at some scriptures. Why this drought? Or why a drought? Nothing growing. Look at Jeremiah 50:38. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images. What they worship, graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. They're mad about them. I mean, they'll argue against you about them. They fight for them. They're mad about these idols. They're idols. Idol. An idol is whatever governs a person's morality. That's their God or idol. Whatever culture believes today, socialist government can be an idol. The worship of government over God that wants to supply our need. Or idol can mean money by any means, the love of money. And ourselves and how we feel determines truth. We invent love and go against nature. We make up what's right and wrong. Those are our idols. In the Old Testament times, those people had many gods. And for the environment, a god for every season. So they would sacrifice to maintain good weather or bad weather against their enemies. Remember, they were mad about their gods and killed their own kids. Deuteronomy 12:31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Lord thy God, for every abomination to the Lord which he hateth have they done unto their gods. For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Without going back and showing you a lot of records on here, and Abraham did that because he was looking at those other nations, and he thought God meant to kill his own son. No. That wasn't what when they say sacrifice, and you can see this in scriptures if you study it, when they meant sacrifice your son, they mean put him in the priesthood. That's what it meant. But Abraham was looking at that, but God gave him honor for wanting to go that far for the one true God. So then all the rest of these nations went nuts killing their own kids. Anyway, Leviticus 18:23. This is how bad these cultures were getting. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall a woman stand before a beast to lie down thereunto. It is confusion. In Leviticus and some other places in the Bible, we must be told not to have sex with the relatives and with the same gender. Remember, it says they were mad for their idols. The droughts were so bad. How bad were the droughts? Leviticus 26:29. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall you eat. Yeah, that happened. There's a record in there where the king had to confront a couple of women. The women came to them because they didn't eat each other's kids. I forgot what that record is. Look it up. If there are enough believers in an area, it can be saved from environmental disasters. Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis 13:13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. 2 angels that looked like men came to save Lot from this town that was going to be burnt to a crisp. Fire and brimstone. The angels had to come from God to pull Lot out of there before the fire and brimstone came down. Here's a side note. Remember the story. When the Old Testament says God did something destructive, it is a figure of speech, meaning God allowed these things to happen. Figure of speech book back there. God tells man to live life to prosper, right? God gave man choices, and he sort of tied his own hands to that. Here's an example. If you have a pit bull that bites somebody, they come to the owner, right? It's your pit bull. You didn't tell the pit bull, did you? You thought it would say, gets out and bites somebody. They come to you. God created Lucifer, who turned bad. So the Old Testament says God did it when it was the devil. The devil convinces man through idol worship. Man can choose who to believe. So the book of Job explains this. The 2 angels that look like men are in Lot's house to save him and his family. The homosexual men came to Lot's home to have sex with these new men in town. How do you think they found out about these men? Where do you think they got their passions? Let's look at Genesis 19:4-5. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And people who research and study know that this know in this case on this verse means have sex with them. So the angel blinds the men and get Lot out of town. Just before all this happened, God warns Abraham. Then Abraham prays for his nephew Lot, even to save Sodom and Gomorrah. This is how Christians are to protect each other today. Look at what Abraham asked God in Genesis 18:23-26. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked. and that the righteous should be as the wicked? That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Tell God that the judge of all the earth, shouldn't he do right? That's funny. Verse 26. And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. Look at God's heart. There's not even 10, but God saves Lot. His wife's heart was still in the place above the one true God and her family, so she died. I believe God spares this country because of the remnant of believers who live here. Apparently, there are still enough of us, but we see disasters in parts of our country. Sometimes even Christians miss the call to move like Lot's wife. The true cause of disaster is the lack of true believers or true believers believing. Or you can say the growth of atheists, the growth of governmental socialism to be our guide. Did you know we breathe out carbon dioxide and plants breathe in carbon dioxide? Global warming, carbon dioxide. Do you remember what the rainbow is for? It is for far more than just a flood. And there will be a new heaven and a new earth. Let's make that trip.